All right. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give it a minute or so here. I can see some people joining our Zoom room here. So in just about a minute, we'll get started with our presentation. All right, so welcome everyone. I'm very happy to have you join us today to talk about the Leadership Licensure Program / Graduate Certificate in School Leadership that we have here at William James College. So my name is Sarah and I'll be your host today. I'll talk a little bit about William James in general, and then I will turn things over to our main presenters. So with us today, we have Dr. Kris Taylor, who is the director of this program. So she'll talk about, what's required of the program, the different courses, and be able to answer any questions that you might have. We also have Julia Ogden with us, who is one of our admissions counselors, and she works most closely with this program. So she'll be able to answer any questions you might have on the admission side. All right, so if we move on to the next slide, as I mentioned, I'm just going to talk a little bit about William James College in general. You can see our campus building on the side here, and we are located in Newton, Massachusetts, which if you're from the area, you can see, or that that means we're just outside of Boston, a little bit outside of Boston, which puts us in a great location to be connected to a lot of different organizations, school districts, businesses for our students to have those connections. And it also makes it easy for our students to get to campus when they need to, whether that's for a class, weekend of residence, meet with the professor, use our library or other services that we might have, attend an event. So I just want to, give you a little overview of where we're located. And then if we move to the next slide here, I love showing this slide because it gives you an overview of the different departments and programs that we offer at William James. So the LLP / GCSL program is housed in the Organizational and Leadership Department, where we have a number of different graduate certificates and master's or doctoral level programs focused on organizational and leadership. But we also have clinical, counseling, and school graduate level programs, as well as a bachelor's completion program. And what I really like to emphasize on this slide is every program that you see here in every department has a focus on those topics. So on leadership, on psychology, behavioral health, counseling. So no matter what professor you have or what student or peer that you might meet, whether they're in your program or not, has the same expertise or passion and dedication for the field. So William James is 100% focused on these topics. You're not going to find an English department or physics department. We really are dedicated to, mental health, leadership, behavioral health, those fields. All right, so if we move to the next slide here, I just want to go over our core values. So these extend across all the different programs that you saw on the previous slide, as well as the work that we do here at the college. So firstly, personal growth. Obviously, if you're interested in an academic program, you're looking for that professional growth or that academic experience or degree or certificate, but we really emphasize personal growth here as well. So there are a lot of opportunities to engage with your cohort. We have an active Dean of Students office, so there are a lot of opportunities to engage with the William James community, and attend events and have experiences outside of the classroom. We have mentorship opportunities, really engage faculty. So there are a lot of ways that you can, experience William James and not just the academic side. Secondly, social responsibility. This is something that we really, really prioritize here at William James. So we really want to make a difference in our communities, meet the different needs that exist and the gaps that exist. in our schools, in mental health care. So in all your courses and all the work that you see, we have a number of centers that do advocacy work in our communities. There really are a lot of ways that you can make a difference, as a student here and beyond. And lastly, experiential education. Every single one of our programs really prioritizes hands-on learning. So you're not just reading in your textbook or listening to a lecture, you're actually putting into practice those skills and topics that you're learning about. And lastly, I like to emphasize that here at William James, we have a commitment to diversity, inclusion, social justice, and intercultural understanding. So again, you'll see this in every single one of your courses and a lot of the events we hold on campus. There really are a lot of opportunities where we come together as a community to educate, learn, and take action on these topics as well. All right, so if we go to the next slide, of course, this is a live webinar, and we're very happy that you've joined us this evening. So at any time throughout the presentation, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to submit those to us. There'll be a few opportunities towards the end of the webinar where we can get those answered for you. We want to make sure that you have all the information that you're looking for, and we can log off today knowing that you got your questions answered. All right, so if we move to the next slide here, I will turn things over to you, Dr. Taylor.
Hi, thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Great to have you. Thank you for joining us. So I am Kris Taylor. I am the director of LLP GCSL. And my personal experience is having been a K-8 and middle school principal, a teacher, a coach. And so I'm doing this work as far as building the pipeline for future leaders and educators. And so we're happy to have you join us here tonight with our newly revised merged program with MSAA. And so if you know MSAA, they are a statewide organization. They have a long history with developing school leaders, and we're very happy to announce this partnership between our two programs. And so Leadership Licensure Program and Graduate Certificate of School Leadership, we are now calling LLP GCSL, and we're happy that you joined us here tonight to learn more about the program. So we believe our program is what is needed right now when we think about what students need and what communities need from leaders, from school leaders. So our program focuses on being responsive, hands-on, on the ground, comprehensive, asset-based orientation, or culturally responsive is another term for that. We apply theory to practice. We leverage principles in design thinking. What does the end user need? And so we consider this to be a very innovative certificate program leading to changes that we want to see on the ground in schools and for students. And so that we'll talk a little bit more about competencies that frame and are the foundation of this program. But this right now just gives you a highlight of how we are preparing the next generation of leaders for the challenges that we see right now and in the future. So we are a principal preparation program that can lead to licensure. It is 3 semesters. We offer you can transfer some credits, and we do look at those, but at the same time, if you complete our program, 8 of the credits are transferable for a doctorate degree here at William James College. We, of course, are aligned to the standards at DESE, and our 3 focus areas are organizational leadership, inclusive leadership, and social emotional competencies. So here, this slide gives you a little bit of the program or the program of study and some of the courses that we have and that we offer. This isn't a full list. We'll give you a full list as we continue on with this webinar, but we have a course that happens in the summer on the needs of diverse learners. Of course, we integrate culturally proficient leadership throughout all of our courses. We have other courses that are specifically focused on leadership. So for example, the DNA of school leadership is it reiterated in other courses across the 3 semesters. Supervision and evaluation is another skill set that we like to build, and along with your 500-hour practicum, which is necessary for licensure. You can actually complete your practicum before you come to us or when you're with us, but it does need to be completed within 1 year. We also think about practical assignments that are aligned to the PALS, which is the state assessment, but also performance assessments that help to build the skill set needed for application in the role of a school leader. So that just gives you a high level review of what our course content centers around. More specifically, this program is 18 graduate credits. It is a graduate certificate program. It does not lead to a master's degree, but it does lead to supporting you with licensure. Again, it is 3 semesters. It is completely online. We have the ability to have some things in person, but mostly online or online. It's an online program. Weekly discussions, weekly webinars, readings that are practical and applicable, cohort learning, adult learning theory, so making it relevant, practical, using data to help co-design the experiences with you in our cohort model. Again, the 500-hour practicum is something that you can achieve in our program, along with site supervision. At the end of the year, in the 3rd semester, there is a capstone that is part of the one of the final courses of the year, but we help you develop that and complete that during the 3rd semester. So these are the competencies I referred to earlier. When we think about LLP, GCSL, we think about leading for equity being one of the core concepts. When we think about leading for equity, it's transformational leadership, making something different, something that doesn't exist sometimes is necessary in order for equity to happen. We think about social justice leadership, centering the needs of the historically marginalized, and courageous leadership. It takes that to be able to bring people together in order to achieve some high goals. We think about educational equity being another competency, especially in the realm of instructional leadership. What does it take to really move practice in the classroom? Team leadership, it takes a collaborative effort. No one can do this work alone. And so how do you build and work on things together? How are you inclusive to different perspectives, dynamics, experiences? What is the racial understanding that's necessary? How do we have effective dialogue around between and across races? How do we make sense of that? And how do we definitely show and demonstrate and build our anti-racist leadership capacity? And then all of this leading to change. Change leadership is important because we do want to see organizations at the end of all of this change and become the kinds of organizations that are responsive to the people that we're aiming to serve. So this just gives you a really good overview of the competencies that we base the coursework on. Who is this program for? So we think about aspiring principals. So if you happen to be someone who sees yourself in leadership down the road and within 5 years, this is a program for you to think about how do you explore the work, the real work of a school leader, whether it's a principal or an assistant principal. Teachers, classroom teachers, teacher leaders who are looking to expand their reach outside of the classroom, who love teaching, but may want to work more with adults and developing what's needed in the school and in a community. And mid-career professionals, this is something that you've thought about and now you might be in a different career and you want to come into education, this program is for you. And we'll talk a little bit about the schedule and when the classes are and how they're really designed for those who are working full time to still to be able to participate in our program. Again, a little bit more about competencies. These are some of the essential questions that we ask: managing and navigating adaptive change, being able to use data to respond to the academic needs of students, leading with compassion and vulnerability. Those social emotional competencies are very important. And then designing equitable, safe, and effective learning environments. So if you are a mid-career professional, an aspiring principal, a teacher, or have a passion for change in the education space, these are some of the essential questions we'd like for you to consider as you consider our program. This is more specific details as far as the program of study and the course sequence. So you can see under the curriculum column, there are there are 8 credits under the Ed Leadership domain. And those courses are titled The Crux of School Leadership. That is a 2-credit course. Shaping School Culture is a 2-credit course, and Leadership of Educational Institutions. The Crux of School Leadership happens in the first semester. The second semester is Shaping School Culture, and then the final semester is Leadership of Educational Institutions. Along with that, if you go back to the curriculum column, we have courses under the domain of Inclusive Leadership and Organizational Transformation. You also take one of these courses in a semester, and that totals 9 credits because each one of those courses are 3. So the Psychology of Racism and Discrimination, Multicultural Inclusive Leadership, and DEI Interventions and Communications. Those are also courses, 1 course a semester, and that is equals to 9 credits. The one above, the 8 credits, those educational leadership domains, those with the check mark, those transfer to a doctorate degree at William James College. So if you're interested in a PsyD after you graduate, you can transfer those 8 credits forward. And then finally, we have a capstone, which is a 1-credit course. And then we have 2 practicum courses that also happen once a semester. So basically, you will be taking 3 courses in a semester. Some are 2 credits, some are 3 credits, and one is, and we have courses that are 1 credit. So that's how we get to the 18 credits for this program. Again, designed for working professionals. Most of our live Zoom meetings are actually after work hours between the 5 and 7 p.m. The weekly Zoom meetings are about an hour live with the professor. There are discussion boards where you discuss the content with your cohort, with your instructor. There are some professors who record their lectures, and so that gives you some flexibility as to when you can view their content. But all courses have weekly readings, discussions, sometimes group projects. We also have weekend residencies. They happen 2 or 3 times a semester, where there is a Saturday or a Sunday where you're together as a cohort for a full day. And these are online experiences as well. So this gives you a big picture around how often you're meeting together as a cohort and with your instructor. So this is even more detailed information as far as what you can expect in this first semester. This program launches in May, and so we'd love to see you submit your application as soon as possible. There is an interview component, but as you are thinking about your application for this program, we want you to know that the first semester starts this summer. Our first week is the week of May 13th, and it ends around July, the end of July. And so these are the first 3 courses that happen in the first semester. So again, the Psychology of Racism and Discrimination, that's a 3-credit course. The Crux of School Leadership happens in the same semester. And then we have the practicum course. All of our assignments are aligned to the PALS. So we want to give you exposure to the PALS assessment. The principal assessment for leaders, that is the DESE requirement for your initial license. And so we have assignments aligned to those so that you can be exposed to what the PALS requires, and you can start practicing some of those learnings that are important to demonstrate in order to pass that assessment. So that's semester 1. Semester 2 takes place, what we're calling is Summer 2. This is new for us this year with our collaboration with LLP or MSAA. We will have 3 days, 3 full days from 8 to 3, August 13th, 14th, and 15th, focused on the needs of diverse learners. It is an in-person option, but we can also offer it hybrid. If you can't be here with us, then that's totally fine, because we are an online program. But this focus of needs of diverse learners will happen these 3 days online. So that is after the first semester, we'll go on to this 3-day learning, and then we will go on to the next semester, which is in the fall of 2024. This typically happens at the end of August, going until the end of December. The 3 courses are listed here: DEI Facilitations, Interventions, and Communications. That is a 3-credit course. shaping school culture, and then another practicum course. We look at the practicum course as a way to meet with your site supervisors. You do have an instructor for the course, but also bridging the theory and the practice, talking about your experiences in your practicum. As you know, a practicum experience is the 500 hours where you're working with a site supervisor, you're having actual authentic tasks to engage in as if you were a school leader. And so the practicum course is really designed to help you bridge those experiences together. So that's the second semester. And then the final semester happens in the spring, January to May. That would be the time frame for this new cohort. The three courses that happen that semester would be inclusive leadership, leadership of educational institutions, and then your capstone project, which is really like a portfolio, a final rendering of what your demonstration of knowledge has been, how you have interpreted the PAL assessments too as well. And so that's the third semester. You get support with your capstone. That's why we have it as a 1 credit course. So those are all three of the semesters in a nutshell that you can expect as part of this program. Again, we want to highlight that this is a new collaboration with MSAA, the Massachusetts School Administrators Association, our center, the Center for Behavioral Health, Equity, and Leadership in Schools. So the LLP, Leadership Licensure Program, which has a long history across Massachusetts, and the Graduate Certificate in School Leadership are coming together and combining together for this new cohort of learning. The contact information includes myself, Julia, who you've met earlier or you will meet, admissions counselor, and also my colleague, Beth Witkoff, who will be joining as part of the contact information to share information as we're recruiting. The three of us are the team of people that you can reach out with, that you'll collaborate with as you get to know us through your application process and moving forward. This is the team of instructors, so we like to give you a little highlight of who they are. In semester 1, you'll have Dr. Des Floyd. He teaches the leadership, the psychology of racism and discrimination. Dr. Sharmi Curry teaches the crux of school leadership, and Danielle Morrissey is a current principal who will be teaching the Practicum 1 course. And then for those 3 days after that summer, May to July, for those 3 August days, we have Abby Hanscom. She is a director of special education. She will be leading the 3 days of learning on the needs of diverse learners. Then semester 2, which happens at the end of August to the end of December, we have Dr. Eden Rudell, who teaches DEI interventions and communications. We have Dr. Mona Ford, who teaches shaping school culture. She's a former principal, but also an assistant superintendent, a deputy superintendent currently. Her school won a Blue Ribbon Prize, and so she is a turnaround leader as well. So is Danielle. Danielle Morrissey has been a principal of 3 schools, and one of them was a turnaround as well, but she has had a variety of experiences actually as a school leader. And then for our Practicum 2 course, Dr. Jason DeFalco will be teaching the supervision and evaluation. And then in the final semester, we have Dr. Tuesday Cooper, who will be teaching multicultural and inclusive leadership. And then Dr. Sharmi Curry will be teaching the final 2 courses, which includes the capstone and leadership of educational institutions. So we have a really great, strong team of instructors who have experience, former principals, current principals, to lead you through this academic learning into leadership. We have guest speakers. As I mentioned earlier, we have full day residencies. And so we plan to have these guest speakers as part of our roster coming up in this next year. So Catherine Tarka comes to talk to the cohort about the science of reading and early literacy. We have John Doria, who is a well-known author, professor, also a former teacher, principal, superintendent. He helps us in our residencies as well with leadership. And then Camilla Drummond Forrester is a social emotional learning and social justice advocate and leader. And she's going to be teaching our cohort this spring, but we plan to bring her back in for this new cohort as well. So you get a chance to see who your instructors are, but who also are our guest speakers, our expert content facilitators to further extend the learning that we offer as part of this program. This is more information around what you can expect as far as the organization of the semesters. They are 10 weeks. More information just about who, when, and when you can expect these residencies. We'll give you more details around this as we meet you and engage with you moving forward. So this is just more of some of the same information that we just shared about the courses and the outline and the structure and what you can expect. We typically have an orientation the first week of May. Before we have an orientation, we send out some self-assessments to help you reflect, and we use all of that information as we begin to the courses in the first semester. This is another just a communication about the summer, the 3 days, the focus on the needs of diverse learners, and how the focus for that, the content of that time is special education law. There are engaging assignments, very practical assignments that you engage in with, and then this is an opportunity to have in-person collaboration. But again, being in person is not mandatory. We do have a hybrid option. And then again in the fall, those are the courses, and then in the spring, those are the courses. So you get a pretty good overview of what to expect and how often you're in collaboration with your instructors and your colleagues. Finally, I think these are some of the other components as far as receiving support for a principal/assistant principal license. We do meet the requirements for that. We are a sponsoring organization, and usually participating in a program like ours does qualify you for licensure. As I mentioned earlier, our assignments are aligned to the PALs, and then we have the practicum, um, 500 hours. That's along with our program that you provide support. You don't have to already know what school you want to do your practicum in. Uh, that is something that we can help you with moving forward, and that you don't have to be working at a current school site in order to get support with your practicum. We do help you with that. All right, so I think we are at the moment of Q&A.
Yes, thank you. We have some questions already. As we're answering these, feel free to keep submitting. We'll get through as many as we can before our session is over. And of course, we still will hear from Julia a little bit about the admissions side. We'll take a few questions now, hear from Julia, and then we'll get to some final questions at the end. All right, so first question here is wondering a little bit more about the setup of the program. Can you specify, how much of the program is asynchronous, how much is actual synchronous learning? If you could just talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, so it's a little bit of both. So we use a learning management system called Canvas, where the professor will upload the assignments, the reading, the syllabus, and discussion boards. And so that is a little bit of the asynchronous model that all of the courses have, that you can have the information at your fingertips and you can organize your lives around the work that exists there for you as outlined by your instructor. But we do have a synchronous component in that meeting live weekly is something that our participants seem to like, at least a 1-hour weekly meeting with their instructor. And so we have that. We do have instructors that are completely asynchronous, right? You only would see them a couple of times a semester. But in our feedback with the 2 cohorts that we have had, and also the cohorts that we have had in the past, tend to like more FaceTime, to be honest with you. So there is a component of being able to be organized on your own and proceeding through the work and the readings and the discussion boards during the time frame. But we tend to find that people do like at least a weekly Zoom meeting as part of the class. So that's why we say that you can be prepared to have at least 2 live Zoom meetings a week, but the rest of that week is for you to use and organize for your readings and your discussion boards, etc. Hopefully that answers your question.
All right, great. And then do you have the dates for those full day residency courses?
Yes, we don't have them now, but should you be accepted to the program, we have an orientation the first week of May, and that's when we usually have the dates for the whole year outlined. And so, yes, you will have them, should you be accepted to the program pretty early, because we do want you to, block those off on your calendar so you can be available.
Great. And then we have a question here wondering about the hours, the 500 hours. If someone has already completed hours, they're saying here they've completed 80 hours, would those be able to count to this program, or would it have to be done during your year in the program?
Yeah, so what Desi has shared with us is that they would like for it to be done in one complete school year, but we do, as a sponsoring organization, have the ability to look at um the balance of the hours and when they were completed, and still accept. We have the authority to accept the 500-hour practicum. So we'd have to look at every individual case. We just have to have a rationale for that. But if it's really close to one academic year, it really typically has not been a problem.
All right, great. And then we have another question here about the weekly Zoom meetings. For example, in semester one, are you expected to be online 3 nights per week because of the course requirements for semester one?
Okay, so usually it's 2 nights a week because the practicum course does not meet for the full balance of the semester. And so what we typically have is we have a course that goes the full 15 weeks. We have another course that goes for 10 weeks. And then usually the practicum course picks up at the end for another 5 weeks. So really it's an average of 2 Zoom meetings a week, even though you're taking 3 courses, because all of the courses are not the same length of time. And hopefully that makes sense.
All right, great. I know we still have some more questions here, but I think we can move on and maybe get some of those answered by Julia. So I think I will turn things over to you, and we'll talk a little bit about admissions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Ogden, and I am the admissions counselor that works most closely with the LLP GCSL program. The application process is pretty simple. We do require that you have a bachelor's degree. However, though many of you probably have master's degrees, it is not a requirement, just a bachelor's. So we would need transcripts sent from your previous schools in order to enroll. During the admissions process, we will accept unofficial transcripts. So as you're completing the application, as some of you may have already started, you can upload unofficial transcripts that you have on hand. And then if you are accepted into the program and would be attending, in order to enroll you, we need those official transcripts. There is an online application. We ask for one letter of recommendation. So during that application, you will enter the contact information for one professional reference, and an email will be sent directly to that reference from our application system, and they will complete a rating form and upload a letter directly to your portal. So all you have to do is input that contact information. We do also ask for either a CV or a resume, and on that resume or CV, we do ask that you include 2 references. So 2 people that the program can contact regarding your application. And then there is an application essay that is required. There are a couple prompts. Those are found both in the application portal, but you can also find them on the website for the program. And it's only a total of 500 words to answer both of those prompts. So not a really long essay, really just to get a chance to hear from you. And of course, the link for the application is listed there on the screen. Once we generally have all of the materials that you've submitted, we will pass your application and your materials onto the faculty, and they will set up 2 interviews with you with different faculty members. So it's a pretty simple process, very hands-on by the faculty. We have some dates up there at the top. This program starts in what we call our Summer 1 session. So that begins May 13th, as Kris noted earlier in the presentation. And then we have a deadline for this program of April 10th. So because it is an earlier start to that program, that's the deadline that you should aim for. After that, we accept applications on a rolling basis, but it's space available. So if you really want to apply to the program and start, I recommend getting your materials in as soon as possible so that we have time to go through the process. Right. And now we can answer any additional questions you have, either about admissions or any additional questions about the program.
All right, great. In terms of licensure, is that something that is part of the program, or is the actual licensure something the graduates would have to pursue after completing the program?
Yes, so participation in this program would help you check a box that is a requirement for licensure. Participating in a preparation program, which is what this is, does qualify you for licensure, but there are several things that qualify for licensure. Another is for your initial license is passing the 4 tasks that the PALS requires, the Principal Assessment for Licensure. Your SEI endorsement is another requirement. And so this program is one of the things that gets you there.
All right, great. And then if you have students or applicants who aren't looking for licensure but still interested in this program,
Mhm.
perhaps going on to the PsyD program, does this one differ at all? Do they still do the practicum and the capstone?
Yes, absolutely. We always have people participate in our program that aren't interested in principal licensure. So they're here for a variety of reasons around the content, around equity, around leadership practices, around learning about classroom practices, because maybe their job is related to that. We've had social workers, we've had central office people, we've had METCO directors who maybe don't want to go forward with specific licensure, but then we have people that do. And so thank you for that question, because we have a variety of people that have participated in LLP traditionally and in GCSL as well. And so this program really does span for that. We do make adjustments also to assignments based on that. If you're not doing a practicum, of course, and then if you're not doing PALS, but we do usually find something related, like everyone needs to know how to use data and analyze data. And so those are some universal skills. So yes.
All right, great. We have a question here about the practicum, wondering what type of work or projects would be completed, and if that's role dependent, teacher versus counselor.
Yeah, so when we think about the practicum, we're thinking about people who are interested in being a principal or assistant principal, because you have a site supervisor that is like your on-site mentor and helping you navigate the world of being a school leader. And so when you think about the budget season, that's a great time to really have a mentor ushering you through that process. And during your practicum, you can count those hours that you're talking about in preparing for the budget or designing professional development for the staff. Those on the ground partnerships with your site supervisor helps to also shape your learning. And that is what we consider the practicum to be, an extension and a strong, collaborative partnership to what you're learning in the coursework.
All right, great. And then we have a question wondering if school budgeting is something that's included in the program.
Yeah, so similarly, we look at the practicum as another learning opportunity, and so as your site supervisor, your principal that you are matched with in your practicum is going through their budget season, that is a really great way to learn on the ground about what that is. We also have performance assessments. These are particular assessments that all sponsoring organizations must provide to their students in order so they can demonstrate knowledge and practices. And so we have those as well, which are designed to actually demonstrate practice, be introduced to certain practices so that it prepares you. And so budgeting is one of those types of things that can be spoken about and discussed in the practicum course, but also leveraged in the practicum itself with your site supervisor.
All right. Another practicum question is wondering if there is a handbook for principal or supervisor.
Yes, we have a handbook for the program that we give to the site supervisors, but we also have a handbook that outlines PALs, because you can be the same time that you're doing your 500-hour practicum, whatever time that you're using working on PALs can be also added to your practicum. And a lot of times we need your site supervisor to be aware of what that is. So we actually do have a handbook or a checklist, and it's several pages for principal supervisors or program site supervisors, so they know how to support you with your PALs and your other performance assessments. So it can be seen as a handbook of sorts just for your site supervisors. Your site supervisors are invited to the courses, and they are actually required to come to some of the course learnings. And they also have access to Canvas, which is where you will be having your coursework. We want them to have access to that as well. So we have a page for your site supervisor so that they can be learning along with you.
Great. And if someone is already working in a school, can their current principal be their supervisor for this?
Yes, absolutely. We encourage you to start having those conversations with your site supervisor so they know that that's something that you're interested in having them do. But absolutely, yep, that works.
Great. And then we have a few application related questions. The first one, Julia, is if you have a master's degree, do you need to see that transcript as well, or just the bachelor's degree?
We do need to see the master's degree transcripts as well. For any degrees, if you have a doctoral degree, we would like to have those transcripts because that is all part of your profile and your accomplishments. It's just the program only requires that you have a bachelor's. So you have to have at least a bachelor's in order to apply, but we do want transcripts for any degrees that you have.
All right, great. And then someone here says that they submitted the LLP MSAA application with the old application. Do they need to redo that? Or is that going to be able to be transferred over?
Yeah, so we will need you to do an application through our program. For record keeping, for the review process, it's all happening through William James. So, I know some people have already spoken with Beth Withcott about that process. So we can carry over any transcripts that you had sent to them. Fortunately, we can get those directly from them, so you don't have to request them again. But all the materials will have to be resubmitted. Mostly you would have, the essays are very similar. If you had recommenders, you'd ask them, you just ask them there's an additional rating form in addition to a letter. But a lot of those materials can be reused. It's not a totally different process. It's actually a little more streamlined. But we would need you to do it through our application portal because, we're starting with this new merger.
Yeah. And William James has a new application system, and everyone who's applying to William James programs, which is what this is, this collaboration with MSAA is requires an application through the William James portal. And because we have a new system, everyone has to apply through that new system that we're using. So thank you for that question.
Mm-hmm.
But we will provide support to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
If you have any issues or difficulties applying through our portal, feel free to reach out to us.
Great. I was just going to say, if you could go to the next slide here, we have some contact information. So if you have any trouble with your application or want to talk more in depth about the program, or you have questions that you think of after we log off here in just a minute, feel free to reach out to Kris directly, or you can always reach Julia at info@williamjames.edu if you have more specific application questions. So thank you all for joining us this evening, and thank you to Kris and Julia for your presentations, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. All right, have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.